addressing some of the fears that we see. You know, part of the challenge, you know, earlier you mentioned the issue of IQ, and then he brought in the issue of emotional intelligence and, you know, other issues to do with the development of the child's character. And I noticed that in your submission, you were more about IQ and IQ. You didn't address carefully the issue of emotional intelligence and character, you know, being that the fear is that, of course, we have issues like cultism and prostitution, and younger people who get to school may fall victim to such vices. So what's your take on that?
All right, thank you very much. I think that you made an assumption that I was talking only about IQ.
Right.
I'm a psychiatrist.
All right.
And so as a psychiatrist, I deal with emotional issues.
I mean, when you were talking about the performance in your
yes,
class,
I talked about performance. But I also remember that I also told you that I was following my mother and I passed, but she insisted I must start at age 5.
Yeah.
And I went through every single class. I was listening to his submission. As at that time, my classmates were taking, they call it WAEC external. SS2. As at that time, I was old enough to take my own decisions. I decided that I'm not going to take it at SS2 because the rule says you cannot take it at SS2. So I took every class from primary 1 to primary 6, from JSS1 to SS3. Are you getting me now?
Yeah.
And yet I ended up at 16. My point is very clear. The policy that cast it as 6 years old, it shouldn't be rigid. That's why I gave you the range from, because that's what most people, this policy that she's talking about age, whatever, came from that research. And I'm a psychiatrist. I did child psychiatry. We have talked about child development and all that. See, when you talk about the holistic intelligence of people, IQ is just one of them. Just one. Unfortunately, the school system has measured on IQ. Are you getting me now? To the exclusion of the others. But I teach emotional intelligence. I've been teaching it for many years. In fact, I used to teach it for many years in NIPS there, during the orientation and everything. So for you to know that I know what I'm talking about. And this IQ thing is not rigid in age. That's why I went on to tell you things that make for intelligence. Emotional is there. In fact, when you talk about health and you talk about wealth and all those kind of things, you see that you have different dimensions. Those dimensions are also the things that play out even in the intelligence we are talking about. There's the social part, there's the environmental part, there's occupational part, there's spiritual part. All these things are there. Are you getting me now?
Yes, sir.
So for a child that is old enough to have an understanding of what is being taught in school system is not only on cognitive processes. Even the plays that you have, even like in my time, maybe first week in school was, first 2 weeks, people are not even doing any cognitive work. Yeah. Even the cutting of grass, the playing of football is all part of it. Are you getting me now? Those things are very important. I believe strongly that children should not be pushed, like he said.
Yeah.
Pushed in terms of jumping classes. But I also don't believe that people must be rigidly held back.
Yeah.
When it is very obvious that they have enough exposure, they have enough cognitive processes, they have enough maturity. Look, all through school, I was in leadership positions. And yet, I still finished secondary school at 16. Enter university at 17 because we waited 1 year because of the strike. Are you getting me now?
Yeah.
So, for me, any child that is old enough to be able to start school, as long as we insist and ensure that we are not doing all this competition, or some people go by at primary 4, primary 5,
yes,
to secondary school. Why? What is the rush?
Why is the rush?
I can tell you, sir, if you have allowed me to stay, even that 1 year period that we stayed at home because the system compelled us to stay at home. The restlessness that many of us had. If you have insisted that we just continue to while away time like that and waste time, we will have found
idle man.
We will have found
yes, Prof.
especially in other things which are not useful. Look, Professor Ade Ajayi is a professor of cardiology. He was my teacher in Ife before he moved out, and now he's a professor somewhere in the US. He gave his statistics as far back as 1972 or thereabout, when the medical school in Ife started. The people that were consistently leading in the entrance exam were 16, 17, 16, 17, 16, 17. And in 1993, when I wrote my UME, I was also 16. And I still led. And we have many people like that. So the issue should be, sir, that parents should ensure that compulsory 9-year basic education should be not that we must stop them from entering university at the age of 18.
I think let's allow Mr. Emmanuel Yakuzak to just weigh into the matter.
Yes, I think this is another position what I discovered over time, that advanced climes like UK, what they do once a child happens to end his high school education at 16 and is physically not ripe or mature enough for university, they provide what we call foundation classes or intermediate courses that the child will do until he's matured in age. At 18, is being admitted into university. So, but in the case of Nigeria, we also used to have IJMB programs. Maybe you have a scenario where a child is by age is disqualified from getting admission to university. He is meant to go and do maybe IJMB for 6 months, for 1 year, to mature or advance in age. By the time he's due, he is actually getting admission into the university. And this is what I've also discovered. We must synchronize the mental age of a child with the biological age. Many parents are always, inundated with this frivolity of getting their children early enough to secondary school. And it has very severe implications, as you remark in your opening, remark, that, these children, once they are not mature and they get into university, they are the ones that are being recruited into occultic activities, prostitution. They cannot make decisions for themselves in the university, and they are lost because the university is an environment for mature people. You are there to take decisions and plan your life independently without anybody, questioning your action. But you must be also ready to take responsibility at the university. But you find it in such a scenario where children are in university and they are being asked, why did you do it? Then they will tell you, I didn't know, I'm a child. I didn't know. But so these are the implications. What the Federal Ministry of Education is supposed to do is just to have a range. I know some people are due, not the 18 precisely, even at WAEC and NECO. Let the minimum be at 17. If you are 18 at maximum or 19 at maximum, good for you, but let the minimum be a little bit brought down to condition. Most people who are really making this backlash and crying foul against the Federal Ministry of Education are people who already have children that cannot meet up with this limit or this minimum age requirement for university. Probably their children will be due for university at 15. I have cases of students currently that are 15, but they are looking for admission in universities currently as I'm talking to you. And the universities that they are applying to are asking them, you have to be 16 to be admitted. So you can see it's a national problem that we have in our hands, and we don't need to be pushing these children. Where are we pushing them to?
Let's have your message to parents
who
have been, in that habit of pushing their children out of whatever it is, competition or whatever it is.
There's no need for it.
All right.
Parents should be able to understand these things, and they do it in partnership with schools that don't have this understanding or abuse this process of growth for children. Schools should not compromise with parents. A parent should not come to you and say, okay, I want my child in primary, and the child is 2 years.
But then, let's have your take again, Dr. Okonoda, on this issue that you are saying. Rules are not cast in stone. Shouldn't there, like even in the developed climes, there is room for special students. That gifted we have this law, but we know that there are gifted students who this law will not be favorable to. Let's have your take on this matter.
All right. So I have laid down my argument.
Yeah.
And the argument is very simple. It's a range. So if for insisting that children should be 18 or even 17, and you'll have screened out a lot of people who will have, how will I say, led in their own generation. That's the truth of the matter. Now, my argument is very simple, or my proposition is very simple. What Nigeria needs is a law to insist that no child above the age of 6 should be at home who have not started school. That is what we require. Nigeria has one of the largest number of children out of school. We are making policies that are not addressing problems. We are making policies that are arbitrary. You are talking about children who are going to school, who are coping. Sir, I'm a scientist. You don't make an doctoral pronouncement. Are you getting me now? I have too many examples to show that children, from age 16 and above, can thrive very well in the university. Too many examples. From my own personal family, to my friends, to my colleagues, to myself, to many people around me. I grew up in the South. Are you getting me now? So, it's too many to show that children 16 and above, and that's either to what has been happening. UTME will say, JAMB will say, you cannot apply until you are 16. And that's have been working for us. The real problem, you see this issue of children are recruited into occultism and everything. There is no data to support it too. You may have 1 or 2 children that are recruited, but most of the people that go into occultism are matured people. I was in the university, and I was in the university for a long time, because in Ife, they wasted our time there. So we witnessed a lot of things. Most of the people that will be in occultism and everything are actually the matured people. That's the truth of the matter. And most of the people that don't even do well, that will stay for too long and everything, are the older people who are who are distracted by so many other things. So my take is this: policies should be enacted to solve national problems. The real problem of Nigeria is that we have too many people out of school. The policy should be that no child above the age of 6 should be at home who have not started school. But for you to insist that children must be at age 18 before they entered university, I believe that children below the age of 4 should not start primary school.
Yes, of course.
But children at age of 5, look, let me tell you, when I was 16, in fact, when I was in SS1, at the age of 13, 14, thereabout, I was already taller than my father. People were already looking at me as a big boy. Are you getting me now?
Perhaps maybe when your parents mention that kind of scenario, that will challenge other parents to feel, if a child from this family can do this, why not my child? And it breeds that kind of competition.
Let me
everyone has his own place in life.
Let me tell you this. What we should advocate is this: when children are brought to school, we should have screening for them.
Yes, of course.
The screening will include cognitive, emotional, and many other things.
Oh, sorry.
Let's
just stop there.
Okay.
Will your parents they agree when they screen children and then they leave their own child out, and then wouldn't there be World War III?
Yes, of course. Of course. You know the competition is there and the feedback. I have parents that will tell you, yes, of course, this school accepted this child when he was 9 years into JSS1. Why won't you accept my child at 9 years old? And they will be pulling their children even ahead of time to be in JSS1. So we used to have this kind of demands from parents. But it's not the right one. It's a matter of principle for a school. You have to spell out the rules and tell them, no, this child is not due for secondary school. It must be advanced in age to be admitted. At least 11.
Yes.
At least 11.
Yes, education
of course.
The benefit of doubt.
Of course.
That they are the ones with the children.
So sometimes what I discover, parents without experience in this field of education that we have, they want to educate us and school us in terms of what we are supposed to do and the action we are supposed to take, which is not necessary. You have to follow the rules and follow the demand and expectation of the school system. You see, this education that we are promoting and practicing is a standard framework for national development. And we have to key into it, irrespective of who you are. So parents in their own field and profession can come to school and be telling us what we are to do. Already this is substantive and this is standard and this is what we are leading our children to. Why? Because the quality of education is what determines the quality of a society. If the quality of education is not measured in terms of this standard, in terms of this quality, then we are in trouble as a society. And we need to have this conversation, and this is the best time for us to start talking about it in the interest of our children and their future. Prof here mentioned about increase in knowledge. Knowledge is now universal. Everyone can access it at any age level. During our time, it took a lot for you to gain knowledge. But today, knowledge is trivial. It's common. It's normal. So a child of 4 years could access cognitive information than before. So it's something of review. It's something of this conversation. Generations have changed. This is no longer generation Y. We have the Gen Z are coming, Alpha and Beta generation. These guys are very sharp in terms of knowledge. So we need to begin to tinker. We need to begin to have conversation along these lines of modification of our educational system to fit into this current generation that we have today.
All right. I think the general consensus in the studio so far is that we need flexibility in whatever it is that we do. And education is for national development. We've been discussing on the Nigerian educational sector, particularly on the issue of university education, saying that students will be restricted until they are 18 years old. The discussants have been Mr. Emmanuel Yakusak and Professor that's Kingsley Okonoda. We take a break now and we'll return to you shortly. Wow.
I'm sure that the principal has agreed with me now.
No, it's not. Things have changed.
Because if a child, if a child gets to,
let's be sure.
If a child gets to secondary school at 11, by 16 we're ready for university.
We need to evaluate this. Things are not the way they were used to be.
But the issue of pushing children, I can never support. Yes. That's the truth of the matter.
And you know, Prof, my child went into secondary school at 12.
You see?
Because an educator understands this principle and standard. So I allowed them at 6 primary. At 12, it starts. Although he has some other classmates that started at 11. In fact, some even 10. I said, don't worry yourself.
See that?
Yeah, I want the best. Where are you rushing to?
Where are you rushing to?
Where are the jobs? When you finish at 20, which job will you find in Nigeria today? So, I'm not rushing you anywhere.
It is where.
Yeah, we've been holding this conversation, and we are just during the break. The discussants have been talking about where are you rushing to, where are you rushing your child to, and on the other hand, of course, there are those who are specially gifted to, enroll into universities even before they are 18 years old, and the issue is about flexibility and balance. It's halfway through the show, and our studio line is open for you to contribute to the conversation that we've been holding. And we have a caller right away. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Morning, sir.
Yes, this is Isaac calling you from Justice.
Good morning, Isaac.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Prof.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Yes, I want to align with what the guests have alluded to in the studio. They have spoken very well. You see, in Nigeria, in terms of policy implementation, we are nowhere to be found. Sorry to say this, because we have very good policies, but sometimes we don't seem to follow, we don't have the political will to follow these policies to the latter.
All right.
What I want to say is that it does not matter the age limit of going into the university. What matters hearing that university lecturers are preparing to down tool for some reasons. The 2009 agreement has not been implemented by government. And there are some, the university lecturers owe government some, about 4 months of salary or so. And those have not been paid. And yet we are talking about age limit into the admission of university students. What are we saying in this country? I want government to have the political will to restructure the educational system so that the system will be favorable for the Nigerian child to enjoy the education up to university level, rather than dwelling on the age limit. What I'm saying in essence is that it should be flexible.
All right.
It shouldn't be too rigid. That is my submission.
Thank you so much.
I want the government to do something urgently to salvage the educational system in this country, to prevent the ASU lecturers from going to strike.
Thank you so much.
That is my submission.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Isaac Itse. That's one of our regular callers. He too is submitting that flexibility should be the watchword going forward. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, and how are you?
Good morning. We are doing wonderfully well.
I am Godfrey Juan.
Godfrey Juan, aka Wall to Wall, all the way from Kagu community. Godfrey, what's your take on today's discussion?
The topic is up, and I appreciate your yesterday. They have said it all. But the problem I'm trying to see is that if they want to insist that the age limit should be maintained, do they know that if you take some of the candidates you take exam, it will take you maybe 4 to 3 years before you make up a cut-off point. Or I think I'm trying to reverse the exam. Once you go the application to the university, it's really elastic. Then we can agree with that policy. Otherwise, at the age of 25, 30, they will tell you they cannot employ you again. And you discover that some people stay in the university for over the years they are supposed to do. Most of this strike based on corner. I think the government should think of a more important thing to do. That is going back, coming back to work. Like in my own days, in 1960, we were 7 years in the primary school. But the people from class 7, they took their exam and they passed to the secondary school. They left some of us there. So you discover that we have to live us for 2 years. Then what are we talking? You should think about it. Thank you very much for giving me the space.
Thank you so much, Godfrey Wall to Wall, for bringing that piece of history back to life. You know, he's saying after when after graduation you have to wait for many years. You know, so why the delay? Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
How is the work?
Work is doing well. We thank you.
This is McQueen Jeffrey Sunday from Carbon. Gadabu.
McQueen from Gadabu.
Yes, McQueen Jeffrey Sunday from Gadabu.
From Gadabu. All right, let's have your take on the matter.
Yeah, I really appreciate the topic of discussion this morning in regards to Nigeria education system. First and foremost, I will really appreciate the prof in the studio. You really diagnose the process of it. Because if you look at it, what the federal government are trying to do as pertaining education, they are trying to bring us backward. Instead of us to foster education, but they are trying to bring us backward. Which is really the thing that how can a child finish in secondary school at the age of 19 and if you look at it, obviously, before somebody I mean take a job in this country, then you see the average age is 3 years. Now I'm trying to say that the person was 18 before you write YS. I don't think that is going to be not going to be good enough. I think really see how they will foster the education, how they will stabilize the education system in Nigeria. If you look at it, according to UNICEF, the average student, the number of students
All right. McQueen, you've made your point. Thank you so much for adding your voice to our conversation this morning. He's bringing in another issue, the issue of WAEC, writing a WAEC. Maybe later on we'll discuss that. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning, sir.
This is Michael Bantu from Mampangwe.
Michael Bantu, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Yeah, as I agree with the previous speaker. I want to have a belief that in any national decision like this, the stakeholders in education must be considered and brought to a round table to discuss. This will be a way of a forum for creating awareness. And the stakeholders will include parents, guardians, teachers, commissioners of education, JAM, NUC, WAEC, NECO, NAPTED, and even the students themselves. I think if they do that, it will help, because it is just like a decision, a one-man decision that is affecting the country today. So for us, these people must be brought to a round table. And I think, what the world said, a person could sit for exam for more than 3-4 years.
Exactly.
And before he gets admission, he's not employable after graduating. So something should be done about that. And I want to believe that our education sector, the welfare of the teachers, is looked into rather. That should have been our major stage of debate. And what do you do about primary teachers who are producing students that cannot write their name? And so we are talking about it, not thinking about the performance of the students. I think it is important.
Thank you so much, Michael Bantu. Thank you so much for that valid contribution. He was asking, was there a stakeholder, dialogue before the creation of this policy? Was the stakeholder dialogue brought enough? Hello, good morning. Good morning, sir.
I'm Musa Ike Kalu calling you from Angola.
Musa from Angonrugo. Let's have your take on the issue.
You see, today it seems as if we are a little bit confused about this issue. The question is this a new innovation? This has been in our country. But the problem is that is what we continue talking about, continuing. You see, when you fail to plan, you have already failed. That is what we are talking about. This thing has been here. Then why are we not making it to become part and parcel of our educational system? If we have been aware of this law, right from inception, it has been in our law, we will be talking about all these things together today. So any law you are making that is new, that you are not able to implement it fully, this is the outcome. Today we are talking about either young age, old age, or different. Once they don't get the old, are they not entitled to education? Why are we rushing? We are rushing because we have accepted that certificate is our own final destination of education. That is why we are rushing. If we have created a enabling environment, make sure that the educational system, both from the primary school to the tertiary institution, is functionable. Today, me and you, we are a little bit opportune to have the last ending of the government institution. But all these kids that are talking today come to realize what has been on ground. I don't even know anything that is not private to including what we are schooling. But today, government has allowed everything to become in the hands of private owners. Nobody is monitoring what is happening. You are talking about autism, you are talking about the teachers' welfare. Are all these things not the responsibility of the government to create a level environment? Look at all the things we should do. Where are the technical schools? All of them are there. What are we talking about? People should be taught in terms of innovation. Where the world is moving and we are deciding to sit where we are. Thank you, my brother.
Thank you so much, Musa, all the way from Angonrugo here, right here in Jos, the Plateau State capital, sounding so passionate about the issues, technical education, our rush for certificates, and we'll take one more call before we respond to them. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, sir. You are the last caller today.
Okay, my name is Comrade Martin Okorafor.
Comrade Okorafor. It's a pleasure to have you join us.
New policy or proposed policy. There are things I want government to look into about the age limit of Penapa. Now, listen. In terms of employment, the agencies, federal agencies, state agencies, they will give you benchmark the age limit. And even the military aspect of it, all this Nigerian policemen, or them, they will know all of them. They will give you the age limit. Now, if you compare the age limit, it doesn't carry well with the proposed time the government is looking. Now, look at NYC system. Now, say, for example, it's not that you are doing a 7-year or 8-year program to go for the internship outpatient. By the time you come out, you will clock that 30 years.
Exactly.
Based on the calculation the Nigerian government have made. Take it very well. We are talking about it. Talk about somebody going to do a course that you finish your first degree, do your master's the same time, you have completed up to 10 years, or 11 years, it's calculated. So at the end of the day, it is the graduates that are going to survive. So the government should look at the whereby at this present stage, we're talking about the digital era. The digital era is no longer an analog era of education. I belong to this born before computer. We're talking about the digital era. Now look at what we have in Nigeria today. 80% of whatever we use in Nigeria are all imported. All the take for example, from China. Now look at the type of children that are manufacturing those. How old are they? Now you are not going to that. Now, if there's a vacation job in Nigeria, it's okay. When they just see that thing, you go and do it. Where is the vacation job? Graduate cannot do it. Does not talk about somebody. Now you look at the primary students. Look at how many months or years the teachers will go on strike. Do you think consider all those things? So if the system is functional, what by functional? When we enter our own university, we entered in August, like next August, we have graduated this question. 4 years, we spent 4 years, there was nothing like strike or literal, it was no work. But present in that, it strikes sometimes takes up to 3 years or 2 years. So government should reconsider, and our policy makers need the consultants who are in the system, who knows exactly what to say, that deal directly with the adults, that deal with the school system. Not when we sit down, we bring old colonial system that is no longer functional. Don't know what is happening outside. See the system the way it's been. Young boys and young girls out there by plenty. You cannot bring them back to the system of old, archaic system of analog. Let's continue moving forward. I think everything in terms of education. Good morning.
All right, Okorafor, born before computers. full of wisdom there. And on that note, we end the session of calls, and we begin with you, Mr. Emmanuel Yakuzak. You know, Comrade Okorafor came with a lot of wisdom. He, collaborated with what a lot of the callers are saying, that when you want to go to school in Nigeria, they are saying you are too young. But when you want employment, they will now tell you are too old. How does that connect?
Okay. All right. I think, frankly speaking, all this conversation is centered in terms of enrollment, in terms of placement, which, of course, you agree with me that is a criteria for admission in formal institutions of learning. But I know that our callers, that called into this program have actually made their submission with respect to the standard. And we should actually be having conversation that is centered on improving education generally than enrollment and then a limit of age into placement to different, sections of education. And I agree with that primarily. Yes, on one hand, we must follow due process in terms of placement and admission. On the other hand, yes, we have a lot of work to do at primary level, secondary level, and even university level. And of course, it is the policy makers and the government of the day that has to put things in order. Yes, of course, employment issues are key in terms of helping our young people that are leaving our universities. Yes, of course, it is not a problem to finish university at 22, but the problem is getting job. Immediately you finish your higher institution. And to me, that is very pivotal. And this conversation should be centered in terms of ensuring that our children are able to receive quality education. Our teachers that are teaching also are taken care of. And then the system is actually functional and able to cater for everybody, including the learners that we have under our tutelage. And we will put all these things together. We are going to upgrade and promote, an environment that is holistic and is suitable for all the learners, and everybody will be happy in society. And to me, this conversation actually is not directed well in terms of growth and development of society. We should also be looking and diversifying into issues that are going to enrich the lives of our learners as they finish school and what they can have for life. You see, learning has changed. Online learning is there. It's not even restricted by age. You can sit there in the comfort of your house, access any material in the world, and you're good for it. Just as I said earlier on, the knowledge is trivial. It's commonplace. There's nothing so special about knowledge. But what is so special is that we want a society that works for all of us.
All right, Professor Okonoda, what was going on in your mind as the callers were,
the callers just basically
submissions?
corroborated what we have been talking about. For me, there's no need to fix what is not broken. Right now, the policy has always been that there should be 6334. Later they said 9 years basic education. It's exactly the same thing, really. And I believe that people should go through it. There's no need to rush anybody. But hitherto it has been that at the age of 16, you are qualified to take UME. Let it still remain so. That is my belief system. Let us focus more on the issues that bordered on quality education. Number one, no child above the age of 6 should be at home or roaming the streets. Let's ensure that children are in schools. Let's keep children in schools and make education to be attractive to them. Don't let us, dwell only on cognitive education. Let's look at every other thing that makes for holistic education, including their emotional development. When we do all this, and then of course, when somebody was talking about technical education, let's talk about functional education. Look, one of the things I teach people is about mental health, a state of well-being, which the individual is able to actualize his potential, cope with normal stresses of life, work productively, and make contribution to society. Are people actualizing their potential? Are they working productively? Are they making contribution? Those are the things our education should be addressing, so that when somebody finishes school, you say there is no job, he can create job for himself. Those are the things that we should be talking about, not to be telling people who are fit, who are emotionally fit, who are fit in every area, to say because they are not yet 18, they must not enter into the university. It's a cake. It's not to be. It's not what we should be talking about.
Includes strikes, like some of our.
Do you understand?
If we have strikes in our society,
what then happens?
Should we?
Look, let me tell you. I wrote JAMB at the age of 16. I did my induction as a medical doctor on my 26th birthday. Somebody that wrote that JAMB at the age of 16. Imagine if they have delayed me for another 2 years. Let's be realistic. Look, this thing that they are basing these 6 years on, I'm telling you, it has become arbitrary. It's no more functional, because life has shifted away from that research that was done then. Let us do another one now. You will see that many of our children are way above all those 6 years old of starting primary school that you are talking about.
And then, Mr. Emmanuel, Michael Bangtu from Angpang West called the email. He said, was there a stakeholder, discussion, dialogue before the creation of the policy?
Yeah. Yes, I agree with you. Some people have actually made comment regarding even our constitution. When did we agree? The people of Nigeria agree on this term. So yes, exactly. So when did we actually come? When we gathered, to have a national conversation on this. So, when you are talking about policy in education, we have the National Research Development Center that is starting with the responsibility of producing our curriculum. So stakeholders in the Ministry of Education actually sit down there, just like somebody said, parents should be involved, even the learners themselves should be involved, the teachers are all part of this. Let us have a forum. Let us come together and have a discussion and fashion out things. But of course, things have changed. Generations have passed, and we need to evaluate even this template that we have.
Exactly.
Let us evaluate on the basis, is it functional? Is it going to meet the current needs of our learners and society? So these are questions that are beckoning for answers, and we have to do it very, very fast, and that would be good for us as a society.
All right, I think we still have more to discuss on this issue, but for now, let's wrap up today's edition of Good Morning Plateau. I want to say thank you to our guest, Professor O'Connor. It has been an interesting session with you and Mr. Emmanuel Yakusak. I wish we can go on and on and on with this conversation, particularly advising parents on the need for us to be wise and to know that education is not all about certificates.
Yes, of course.
Education can be diverse, it can be technical, it can even be, your child can even be skillful as an artisan.
Yes,
why push him to go and be a medical
Maybe
doctor like Professor O'Connor? You know, and so I thank you so much for your valuable insights. I will also want to extend my appreciation to the executive producer of the program, Rita Kachalompam, the supervising producers, Rodzen Imka and Hudung Gyang, the producer of the program, Chief Abraham Tongjing, has done an exceptional job. We thank you so much for the smooth transition of this program. On behalf of the duty continuity announcer, Pam Doyle, studio manager, and that Ayuba and the studio engineer, I'm Nandom Oswald Kumwa, reminding you to join us tomorrow for another engaging conversation on issues shaping our communities. Enjoy the rest of our programming today. Thank you.